Okay, then we are officially live for this September meeting of the Athens Cultural Affairs Commission. Take it away, Andrew.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. Let's start by looking at our August minutes. Does anybody have any corrections to the minutes as they are? Okay. How about a motion to approve the minutes from August? Patrice, it sounds like your motion.
Motion to
Looks
approve
like.
minutes from August. So sorry.
Okay, great. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Did I do that correctly?
No.
Helen's shaking her head. Dang it, I told you guys. Okay, what did I do wrong?
I
You need a
motion.
second.
Can someone second?
I'm seconding.
Thank you.
The second. Okay, great. Next time, for real.
Any discussion?
Wonderful. So, who has checked out the Athens Music Walk of Fame in person? Awesome. It's been a really lovely thing. And I want to start tonight by talking about the future of the Athens Music Walk of Fame. We haven't had a solid concrete plan for moving forward, and I really want us to think about doing another 10 next time for two reasons. One is to just get a critical mass in that space. I really don't think the 11 through 20 will be any more difficult than 1 through 10 were as far as people who, there are enough people who rightfully belong on that corridor that I would like to get to defining it. The second reason, and I would argue more importantly for our group, is getting that 50 grand off the books, or at least part of it. And by doing 10 together, we can write a grant for this. It's very fundable. I mean, let's look at the first 10, y'all. Like, drop some of those names and say, like, who's left out so far, like, hint at who might come in the next iteration. It's a really fundable project. I would be happy to lead that charge for writing that grant for the next 10. Potentially even more than that. It could be like a 3-year grant or something, and we could do 10, 5, and 5 potentially. DDS.
It is approved through the Citizens Oversight Committee and the Mayor and Commission for 2 more years, each year 2 to 3 plaques. So it's already been approved at that level.
Yes.
If you want to increase it, you'll have to go back through that process and put it through the Citizens Oversight and SPLOST Committee process.
Yeah.
2 years was a security,
yeah,
to continue the program. But if you do that, then you have to do the full process again.
Yeah, when I went to the Citizens Advisory Committee, the hardest part of getting them involved was them having a quorum. It was actually, they were like, yeah, this sounds great. Why wouldn't this be a thing we would do? And something similar for the Public Art Pianos project. Now that they're in the ground, I really think that's an easy sell.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have concerns, or I would like to hear some discussion?
Concerns. I think it's a great idea.
Sorry.
I think it's a financially sound move just by, we'd be able to reallocate those funds to something else. And I think it's a little constrained by pledges of future dollars towards a project like this and a handful of others. So again, getting this off the books by cost sharing some of it will allow us to do more of this more quickly. And I don't think the project itself suffers as a result.
I'm happy to see us spending those funds.
Yeah. Again, with a full-time person, I really want to move ACAC to more of a grant writing body and just using the money that we know we have to leverage more opportunities, and for that to be more of a cost share so that we're paying 100% of the cost of things as little as possible. And this is pretty big.
However, Andrew, I would like to recommend that ACAC consider this project is a lifetime project and that it is a continual with the idea of working it into a budget outside of a push for a grant in the future, because this is a project that can go on way beyond this body into the next body, as the committee for nomination is coming from the mayor's selection. So I just would say in that consideration that we did get the 3-year plan, but it would be super great to have a 10-year plan for this
Right.
and beyond.
Right.
Mhm. Thanks.
And that could be part of a grant narrative. We would need a lot of ACC approvals for that, of course. But again, I'm perfectly willing and maybe even capable of leading that charge.
Would now be a good time to discuss my selection idea, Andrew?
Yes. You'll have to remind me what that is.
Oh, about.
Oh, yeah.
Selection.
Let's do
Or
that
we could
under
do the
projects.
Okay.
Yeah, that pertains to a different project in the more immediate term. Okay, treasurer, anything to add? Y'all saw the treasurer's report.
Nothing really, but I did have a question. Is there anything else that we want to kind of earmark for that capital budget, those funds?
I think that's part of a longer conversation that we haven't had about the future of ACAC when we do have a full-time person. So absolutely. Maybe not tonight.
Right. Other than that, no, everything. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I thought that showing it this way, you can see, what we have and then what we have left, essentially. And this is really the beginning of the fiscal year, so that's why it looks like we have so much, which we do have a lot. So that's really it for me, unless anybody has any specific questions. Sorry, everybody just walking into my house at this very moment when I'm speaking.
Oh, sorry. I don't know when this comes up, but we heard about the poet laureateship, that the monies should just come from earmarking ACAC funds. So I don't know how you do that or what budget it comes from, but I just wanted to make sure that if we do promise that there's the 2,000 for the 2-year appointment.
Exactly. So we were the poet laureate concept financially is $2,000 kind of honorarium for the person in that position. So $1,000 a year, payable every 6 months. Not a lot, really. It's not too much of a burden from our operating budget as is. So I really think it's pretty easily handled by our current operating budget. The other financial factor in the poet laureate application was this person at one point over their 2-year terms has the option, but not the obligation, to use one of our annual $1,500 awards, would just be earmarked for a public art project led by that individual. So it would just be a poetic project, poetic arts and community award project every 2 years, which I think is just a great way to set that up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that the treasurer puts that somewhere, I guess.
Good call.
And then can we?
I'll do it.
Is now the time to go forward with deciding? I mean, if we're going to move forward, we have in our write-ups that in January we would take submissions, which means starting to advertise it this fall.
Yeah, let's save. I'm sorry. Let's save that till we get to projects, and we can add the poet laureateship to that. We can talk about the mechanics of that. But yeah, that's absolutely pressing, and we again do have news on that, which we'll get to in a minute. Nothing else about money. Rarely a long topic in the arts group. Great. Being very well handled by Darcy. Not only is that an aesthetic financial rendering, but of our financial picture. But it's a very intuitive one, and we've never had that before. So that's quite a contribution. Jackson Street Art Walk. We thought we would take some time this month, since we have a good bit of newer members who weren't here when we were having those conversations a year and even more ago about the Jackson Street Art Walk. So I would like us to discuss it more. We need to, as a group, and I need to be a lot better about this myself, of thinking of Jackson Street as an ACAC project and not a Helen project. Helen was the one who led this through the SPLOST process, and it was quite dramatic. It was the last one in. I don't think that's an embellishment of how it played out. Marilyn can attest to that. Helen, would you like to start? And if there's any screen sharing, you can do that as well.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
All right, perfect. Yes, I can try doing a screen share. I have not done this before, so bear with me. Here we go. So I am sharing a graphic here. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Good, because I can't see you all. So anyway, so as Andrew mentioned, the Jackson Street Art Walk was actually identified in our master plan, our public art master plan. And so when the SPLOST program got initiated, and that's that penny tax that the citizens voted on last October, I believe it was, October, November. Anyway, so we proposed this as one of our major capital projects for the SPLOST program. So the Jackson Street Art Walk is the street corridor between Doherty. Can you see the little hand?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So I'm not sure what all you can see, but anyway, Jackson Street project runs between Doherty and the Linden House here. And the idea is to sort of reconstruct, reprogram, reinvent that corridor as an art walk, and primarily as a pedestrian walkway. So that corridor we're looking at runs along the downtown parking area, the Hotel Indigo, and in front of the Indigo Hotel, there's another downtown parking area. So these are two properties are owned by the city. And then we also have the fire station #1, also city owned. And then we have a little playground that's tucked between the Graduate Hotel over here, a parking area, Lay Rec Center, and the Linden House. So that's kind of the area that we were developing this plan within, that mostly city-owned property. And you can see that yellow outline shows all that property that's owned by the city. So what we came up with was to really try to reinvent that street as less of a car street and more of a pedestrian promenade. And so we would narrow that streetway and really make the pedestrian walkway much grander, much larger, and more of an element in there. So the whole area between Doherty and the Linden House would become predominantly pedestrian. However, because this fire station is located here, their primary route, the fire truck primary route, is along Jackson Street. So we had to keep that street open to car traffic, to vehicles. So we wanted to design that into the program. So that will be part of it. The other thing that we we wanted to address was that little playground that's located between the parking area and the graduate. We thought it would be much better to move that playground over right next to the rec center and not have parking in between. That poor little playground is sort of in a sea of car traffic and parking there. So we envision kind of creating a plaza area and a playground integrated into that plaza. And then the entire route would have art, although the art itself would not be funded by the SPLOST project. There certainly would be opportunities in the future to add permanent artworks there. But another idea is just to use, to create benches and shade shelters and all that kind of pedestrian amenity as having an artistic touch to it, so that we could almost envision Jackson Street as not only a place to display art, but also a place that's actually designed and planned by artists. So that was part of the whole concept that we came up with for this. So we have a construction cost of $3.4 million and an operating cost of $12,000. And that is roughly the money that is being allocated in the SPLOST program. So just to give you an idea of what the existing, this is a cross section of the street on Jackson Street. And right now that street is 30 feet wide. And in some areas, there's a little 6-foot sidewalk. In some areas, there's not even a sidewalk next to it. There is on the Indigo Hotel side, there's a 14-foot sidewalk. So there is some pedestrian access there. And then there's a little tree buffer between the street and the parking area over here. So what we are doing is proposing to take that right away and really narrow that street corridor down to 20-foot width, enlarge the pedestrian walkway to something along the lines of 10 foot. That would give us a 20-foot amenity zone, and maybe even have, kind of 2 parallel pedestrian areas, and then more tree buffers before you get into that parking area. So anyway, we see this sort of much larger area dedicated to the pedestrian, much smaller area dedicated to vehicles. And then the idea here is to really create a shared street kind of situation. There's very little traffic on Jackson Street, and we don't really anticipate a large amount of traffic. So it really lends itself to being, having this whole street have the look of a plaza, yet still allowing, a vehicle only, or a vehicle shared with the pedestrians, but also have a protected pedestrian only bike area on the edges, and possibly allow parking. This is all conceptual in nature, and part of the SPLOST funding includes the actual design and engineering for this. But our vision is really to have this wonderful street that connects the Linden House, which is our primary artistic cultural institution, with the rest of downtown, with this kind of artistic promenade. So that is the gist of the project, and I'll just go back to our conceptual plan here. The reason why we wanted to bring this to the forefront is there's a number of planning projects going on in downtown Athens that where this amenity is being taken into consideration. So there's a whole, the Bethel Homes public housing area is being completely redone. And this again is another SPLOST project. And the city has, I forget what the budget is, but it's something on the order of $40 million that has been dedicated to reinventing that whole area south of College. And so that planning has begun, and Andrew and I participated in some of the charrette work that they have had discussions with the public for envisioning what that project would be. But that project really sees this as part of the overall amenities of this new residential area. And they're looking at Lay Park as also being part of the, program that they are wanting to coordinate with. The other thing that's going on is that this parking area, the Downtown Development Authority manages this parking area here, and there has been an idea to redevelop the city-owned land as more residential area development, and so that has kind of become a more of a priority, particularly for the mayor and the commission, where they really want to start developing more senior housing in the downtown area. And they're looking at this property as well as this property here as being potential areas for this new residential development. So you can begin to see that we've got new residential happening down here, possibly more residential here, really right up against our project. So as this discussion is happening, and the city has entered into a cooperative agreement with the Downtown Development Authority to begin looking at these properties and how that can be developed, which needs to be a sensitive development to really honor the vision of the Jackson Street Art Walk. And that has, it looks like the agreement, it put language in that this development needs to take into consideration that vision of the art walk. Anyway, we just need to be cognizant of that going on. And there's just been some sort of preliminary feasibility studies that looked at completely building out both of these properties that would really kind of take out some of the ideas here. So something that we'll need to wait and see how that manifests itself. Also, there's become more awareness about this fire station here, and that it is kind of really impacts how this pedestrian zone really works well. And especially with children crossing College Avenue, there's a real big concern about pedestrian safety, particularly children who come and use the Lay Rec Center. It's a major facility for after-school programs, and creating safe crosswalks across College over into the Lay Rec Center is a big deal that the planners are looking at for Bethel Homes. They also see this traffic on College and the fire truck traffic as being a little bit in conflict with trying to create these child-friendly zones. So the mayor actually called a meeting, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, to bring the Bethel Homes and the Housing Authority planners to the table. And I was invited to be a part of that conversation to look at how the fire station really works in this area. And the fire chief was also a part of that conversation, and so was the Downtown Development Authority. And so it's been put on the table for them to look at relocating the fire station to another property, possibly one of the city-owned properties, maybe over here. The other thing that's going on is courthouse, the federal courthouse, is located over here. This parking lot is also being discussed. Apparently, the mayor has had some conversations about making some coordinating with the federal government, using that property for possibly a park. And there's apparently a program to partner with local authorities and using federal land for developing parks. And so the mayor has been in conversation around that. So this area also lends itself to some, possibly integrating fire station maybe in here. I don't know. We don't know what the feasibility is, but the result of that conversation is the consultants working with the housing authority are going to look at some options for the fire station. So, and that would be, if we could find a new location for that fire station, it would really, really change. It would be kind of a game changer for our art walk, because we could really do street closures and have festivals along there and lots of things that could happen that really can't happen with a fire station there. So just wanted to bring you up to speed with what all is happening with Jackson Street. Any questions around this that I can answer, or any discussion?
In the conversation, the hotel, what you have identified as Hotel Indigo expansion and creative campus is no longer part of the conversation when we put the SPLOST project together. So that piece of real estate is not identified at this point.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, but there is still conversation around redeveloping this parking lot as well. And again, that is owned by the Downtown Development Authority. And the other thing that's coming as a part of this whole conversation, a whole nother layer of discussion, is the idea of these TADs, which are tax allocation districts. And the city is in the process of reviewing the proposals for creating TADs all around Athens. Really, there's I think 7 different areas around Athens where they're considering this TAD approach to development, and it's sort of a complicated financial tool to direct any tax increases from the projects that get developed and earmark them towards projects kind of like for parks and trails and other amenities that not only benefit and enhance the developer's development, but also the Athens citizens. I don't know if that, I'm not an expert in TAD, so my explanation's pretty crude. But anyway.
I have a
As
question.
a pro bono consultant, you don't need to be an expert on everything, Holly.
Thanks for walking us through this again. And I appreciate the explanation of it all. How's the best way to keep track of all of the updates to this? Are we gonna, it's sort of, I didn't know about the meeting that the mayor hosted with everybody at the table. Is that happened after we met in person? Yeah.
Yeah, that did happen. That happened. It was a very kind of quick, let's get everybody together and throw out some ideas, some potential, as a brainstorming session, actually. And I was glad that we were at the table, which I think really speaks well for recognizing that the project is important to the mayor and commission.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
I would say that the developments that are being proposed for these locations, Bethel and the area in front of Lay consider that the Jackson Street Art Walk is a benefit and amenity to any of the developments that are going on. That certainly is part of that. In addition, when you cross Doherty Street, however that traffic pattern is arranged, there's a very large green space even before you get to the federal property that's why it was, I mean, the Linden House is the anchor, but there was also this idea that this large green space would be a continuum of that. In addition, there is more space on the other side of the Graduate that would become also food for thought for further development.
Yeah. It kind of feels like it would be nice to have somebody really look at this whole north downtown area a little bit more comprehensively and try to put all these pieces together, because there's a lot of puzzle pieces that are touching each other and influencing each other, and nobody's really looking at all the different pieces and parts and making it whole. But I do think that the housing authority consultants are kind of being given this charge to start looking at their larger area. So that's a step in the right direction.
I have another question. How do the timelines add up for, because we're essentially talking about 3 projects, the Jackson Street Art Walk, the Bethel Homes Development, and the Downtown Development Authority TAD project. So are all 3 of those supposed to happen simultaneously or one before the other? Do we even know? It's hard to tell these days, right? COVID times, who knows?
I honestly don't know. I think, of course, Bethel Homes, that's on its own track, and that's a SPLOST funded project. And that is a huge #1 priority. And Marilyn, you can correct me if I'm not speaking accurately on that. There's a lot of interest in getting that up and going as quickly as possible.
It was one of the priority projects, and considering that we're probably not getting very many pennies out of sales right now, this is my concern, of course, is that I think the Jackson Street Art Walk will be one of the later projects done, because there's some others that are real priorities. And whatever we can do to stay visible, to make sure that it isn't run over, because there is a law that says once you approve a SPLOST project, you can't just change it around. It is what was proposed and what is now voted for. But you still have to watch those guys. And I think Stephanie's question is good. How do we keep track of all this and make sure we know exactly what's going on? Because, I've become very, I watch how everybody works. And
So in light of that statement, Marilyn, what can the commission do? Like, what can individual commissioners do? Just follow along?
With your own commissioner. If you're watching the commission meeting online or when we get to go visit, make sure you're watching whatever is brought up. And if you have a question, like why wasn't, where was Jackson Street when you were talking about this new development? Call your commissioner or email your commissioner or something to keep them on top of what we think is really important. Don't leave us out of the conversation. We need to be aware of what's going on. These are things that, just the squeaky wheel theory. It's really important right now. And particularly because we're not planning to build this immediately. So.
When we were planning all of this, it was, we were push to the very tail end. And we definitely understand that it would have been the thing at the very backside of this SPLOST bucket, basically. But I have, I get the agenda emailed to me for the mayor and commission. I don't know, Andrew, if you get that, but that is something very valuable to share with the commission because it's always like, whoa, it's on the agenda. Hello. I'm gonna listen to it while I'm cooking dinner. You know, I think it's just, that is kind of the maintenance that has to be for this particular project, because it could get squished into something that, you know, we want to maintain its vision. And it is malleable. It was written to be moderately malleable, you know, and if we got the fire station spot, whoa, that would be incredibly fantastic. And we could easily modify towards that. But it is mainly just like a surprise looking at the mayor and commission agenda. So.
Right. Can you all hear me? I think there's a, you know, the neighborhood notification information system that you can log in and sign up for, like what kind of emails you get from the government. I'm not sure if the commission agendas are one of the things you can sign up for. I wish Mark Beechuk was on tonight to answer that question, but because yeah, I get all kinds of emails that I know I've signed up for. I need to hop back on there and see if the agenda is one of those options. Does anyone else know?
Yeah, we get them because we have ACC email addresses. I don't know if it goes to like a non-governmental automated, like automatically.
Stephanie, if you could forward to me each month, I can forward to the group.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being tactical. It's almost like we need a war room, you know, a room with some whiteboards and a map and some pens and some string. I'd be happy to devote some wall space. I'd really like to get in the same room with you guys, but that's not a good idea for a while. But how about this as a first step? Tatiana, can you initiate a communication this week for all of us to respond to with what districts we live in and make sure, see what our representation looks like?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's see how many districts we represent among ourselves.
And don't forget that the commissioners don't mind hearing from you, even if you're in a different district. If there's a project going on
That's true.
district, then contact them.
You know,
Those
advisory
commissioners.
board, you know,
And on the other
we should have access to all those folks. Yeah.
And on the other side is that people in the community may look to people on the Cultural Affairs Commission to have information about what's going on in this particular intersection and all of the projects and how. And then so it's an opportunity to, you know, talk about the Jackson Street Art Walk and make sure that we still hold that and center that in our dialogue as part of like something important, something we work towards, something people voted for. So I think that's, you know, we're just trying to keep up with it as it moves forward, and that's why it's so nice that Helen was able to present this. Actually, Helen was kind enough to come and meet with a few of us who work for Leisure Services, both the Dee Dee and the leadership of Kelly Thomas, who's in charge of Lay Park, and we had a meeting on the front porch of the Owens Thomas house, not the Owens Thomas, sorry, the Ware Linden house, and looked out over and just had a conversation about what was planned and what was agreed on. It was socially distanced with masks, but it was nice because that's going to change the neighborhood around a lot for us and how we work in there. So just got to keep up with the info.
I think the other step that might need to be made is a subgroup of ACAC members to be involved with this project. And that way to ensure that it's not just dumped in Helen's lap, that's deeply unfair. She got us this far, y'all. So I would like 2 or 3 of us to think about that. And maybe that subcommittee should walk this map. You know, let's plan out the pieces. Let's identify how it all connects. Because it's hard for me to follow. I think a left orientation up would help me a lot, and I'm a little spun around. Would that be an okay idea?
Yeah.
It's a good idea. Right.
Yeah. May I also add one more?
Want to volunteer now, or
Oh, sorry.
does anyone want to volunteer now to be on that subcommittee?
That usually works.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Count me in. I'm loud.
I'll totally do it. I know I'm doing a million other things.
Can you
but-
clarify? So the subcommittee is for Jackson Street Art Walk?
Yes.
You have to say your names when you're volunteering because I can't see everybody.
Yeah. Madeline, Jan,
B.
Holly,
due to my previous work with Lay Park, I would like to be on that.
Great.
Madonna.
Marilyn is allowed to.
Of course, I'll be involved as well as it's on the property.
And then Patrice, I know I'm doing other stuff too, but it's a good
Yeah.
project.
Cool.
Okay, so just
almost
clarify, we got Dee Dee,
Andrew.
Helen, Patrice, B, Madeline, Donna, Marilyn. Was that everyone?
I heard
And
Holly.
Holly.
Oh, Holly, sorry, Holly.
Did you say me? Did you say Jan?
Jan, sorry, Jan.
That's
All
okay.
right. This is a big crew now.
Everybody.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I don't need to join it. That's beautiful. Good job.
I think this is a full committee, not a subcommittee.
I'll show up. I want to walk the space.
Yeah.
So invite me to that party.
Yeah, it's worth it. Park at the Linden House. Have a little, nature walk outside together. It's good.
And I can send this map as well if that helps. That does help.
Let me add one more thing. If you don't know your area, your district commissioner, please introduce yourself. Tell them you're on this commission. I don't know who might not. Most of you probably do know, but if you don't, make an introduction. They actually really want to know that you're
I
living.
agree. Newer members might not know this, so I'm going to state this for the record too. In late 2018 and early 2019, Mark, Tatiana, and I met with the majority of the and Holly, yes, met with the majority of the mayor and commission at Walker's one-on-one, especially the new ones who are newly elected in that cycle. To agenda set, and really what that helped do was set the stage for our full-time position. So that groundwork was laid well in advance of that budget proposal. They were groomed for it. They were receptive to it. So that's the kind of work that makes this group effective. We're a small town, so let's utilize the relationships that we do have with the commission and be deliberate about that.
And this district is in Ovita's district. And I think that's it. And then I think Mike Hamby is on the Downtown Development Authority. And so he has a very close interest in this.
And that's your commissioner, right, Marilyn?
Yes, that's my commissioner. And he really did want this to bring people downtown. He and Ovita really pushed this because they thought that we need to bring everyone downtown. We needed a gathering space away from some of the others. We've talked about it, as you said, on the Public Art Master Plan. So, yes.
And you know that Mike Hamby is an abstract expressionist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
Just for the sake of writing it down, Mike Hamby, he's involved in this how? Sorry.
He's a commissioner and he's also the son to the Downtown Development Authorities.
Thank you. That's what I was missing.
Brilliant. Good job, y'all. That's the Jackson Street Art Walk. Projects?
Hey there, project report. So before I launch into that, really quick question that you just sort of raised, Andrew, and related to our full-time position. It's not on the agenda, but do we need to at some point have a committee to kind of be working towards a job description? Or, I mean, I know that's going to be in the city now, so what role do we have in that?
Yeah, I want to meet with whoever wants to talk about what kind of roles you want to move from your plate to this new plate. And then that will help inform how I write up the job description and work with HR, which is, we had talked about doing this, but then Andrew asked maybe if we could wait till at least the bulk of the awards had been decided and sorted. So yeah, I was kind of waiting for this meeting to see who wants to talk about that, and I'm happy to schedule a WebEx meeting and put together an agenda that we can knock out and try to make short work of it if we can. So I'll give you like a little bit of like, here's some things to think about before we meet. So we have like list ready to go.
So we talked about just all with me, Mark, Stephanie, and Holly. Do any of you have an HR background? And Donna? Said dive right in.
But I mean, I have a really strict. The library's HR program is not exactly the
Right.
same as the county's, but I did try to base a lot of hours on the county because it's our largest funder. So I mean, I don't know that I would have. I mean, I don't know that you need my help to write a job description because I don't know what the person needs to do.
I would. Okay. Your choice. We'll start with just the four of us and bring others in. This is not a one and done. This is a big thing. So
okay. Send y'all an email then about getting the four of us getting together, and we'll start it from there.
Stephanie, can you set that meeting up?
Yes.
And that's Holly, Andrew, Mark, and Stephanie.
Yep.
And Mark's on vacation in Ohio. He deserves a week off too. So.
And I would invite any input, Tatiana, that you want to give based on your experience.
Absolutely.
If you want to at least email, if not be involved, that would be great. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, projects. So, as you know, the bus shelters are finished, but they, as an update, the brochure is underway. Helen updated us on that, so she and Mark, and I think the GIS department with the city are making progress on that. So that'll be exciting when we get to actually have a little map and where everything is, and hopefully maybe it'll be linked to some kind of story map or something. I don't know. Helen, yes, please speak.
Yeah, Mark is working on that story map with the GIS so that it'll be on the city website as a story map. That's still in the works, but if I could share my screen once again, I have.
Yeah, because Helen's working on it too, I've heard.
I will show you the mock-up of the art shelter brochure that's being designed.
That looks great.
Yeah. So this is done by Rachel Hopkins, who's the public relations manager for transit, and she's also a graphics person. So this is really her work, and so it's intended to be a trifold that will fit in the standard tourist brochures. So.
Very cool. Thank you. It's so great to see that.
Bus shelter tourist brochure. Fantastic.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, Tatiana, can you help us get? Oh,
sorry, Holly. Helen, if you could ask the designer at Transit to provide it as a PDF and a JPEG, then we could also produce it online, put it online, because there are few, handout pieces at this time. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's still, the inside hasn't been laid out yet, and none of the text has been developed. So that's still to come, but I wanted to give you an idea of what the graphic look is kind of evolving into.
And Tatiana, do you think you could help us with getting this added, just a little blurb to our projects blog on our website, ACAC website? I noticed the bus shelters seems to be missing from that list, so that would be cool. Great, and then we have, we already discussed the Music Walk of Fame. I think we covered that one. And let's see, that basically is finished for now, except for the next round. So
Holly?
Yeah.
I'm drafting just a map, again, in a PDF, like online, for you all to put on your website. And it's got the location of who they are. And Linda isn't on this email, but the trackers are placed for the mobile app, and that her office is doing a trifold, an actual piece. So, you know, within the next couple of weeks, you'll have more than enough to update website, newsletter, actual for tourism, et cetera.
Perfect. Okay, so ADDA is working on the app. That's going to have the, you know, the markers that you can find, and then the trifold brochure. But you're doing a PDF map. They're saying, yep. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. That'll be wonderful. So I think there's been, you know, even with COVID, I think there's been a lot of excitement and buzz around this, and also the mayor, you know, did a streaming kind of inauguration with Patterson Hood and Michael Stipe. So hopefully that was getting a lot of views, and will be accessible for people to continue to see that.
Yeah, who listened to that interview? It was so cool. Patterson said he almost cried when he heard the news, and that's the only part that rubbed me the wrong way. I wanted actual tears.
Yeah.
Almost.
See a grown man cry.
Then we have Whitehall, you know, the roundabout. This one has been, you know, moving kind of slowly, mostly because of COVID and other little setbacks. But as far as I know, the contract with the artist is underway. She is finalizing her drawings, because there was a little bit, you know, of changes that the mayor commission wanted to see, minor things. So hopefully we're going to see that moving forward soon. But I know that like some trees have to be moved, you know, and things like that. So I don't anticipate any like work in progress pictures, you know, in the immediate run, but it is moving ahead. The other thing we have in a similar situation is Fire Station 2 and the Cooperative Extension Service Center out of West Athens. I drove by there this past week, and I could see that Cooperative Extension sculpture site has been tented. It looks like there's some you know, some wood forms in place.
Yeah, like a scaffold kind of thing.
Yeah, scaffolds for the sculpture that will be. So I know the artist is working on that, and you can actually finally start to see some of that on the ground. Next door at Fire Station 2, sadly, there's just an empty slab, but I believe that the progress is being made, but it's just very slow. I think there have been some materials delays and things like that. If anybody wants to add anything about that, feel free. Then we have Dudley Park. So that is this update. I do want you to know that we received 4 proposals to the call for art. And I believe Andrew was going to share those with Marilyn, since she was on the user group, and just make sure that's sort of that they're aligning enough with what the user group wanted, that we can move forward with the convening a selection panel. Can you guys update me on that?
I want to have it 2 weeks out and schedule it. You know, we haven't been sitting on them for a long time. They only came in 2 weeks ago. Marilyn, you are closer to this project. Can you help convene a user group? And part of that is I would like, basically, our last selection process wasn't well done. It was planned one day in advance, and there were not representative enough users. So multiple things here. I would like 2 people to serve as voters who haven't been close to this project. And I would really like for that to be newer members who have not been part of this process before. So who's never served as a voter in a user group who would be interested in serving this time?
And you're talking about being on the selection panel.
Selection panel, yeah.
Madeline and Darcy and Donna. Okay. I saw Madeline Darcy first. Donna, you're not official yet, and that is one situation where it might matter. So how about Madeline and Darcy then? 2 weeks out. Tatiana, can you help coordinate this with
Yeah,
getting a day?
Yeah, and Marilyn, anyone that needs to be invited to that meeting, just give me a list and I'll make sure they're on our invite list when we schedule.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you, Tatiana.
Okay.
Brilliant. And related to that, Tatiana, now's the time for your idea about how we can further democratize this process of selection.
Yeah, so I'm open to feedback on this idea just because I could see it, becoming a hang up maybe, but it seems that, over the years, every time we've done announced a selection, for the most part our projects are well received, but there's always folks that are like, oh, who picks this stuff or whatever, and there's always some commentary. In the past, whenever I've had direct emails from people with criticism about a selection or questions about how the selection process is, I always invite those folks to perhaps come to the next selection panel meeting, because they are community meetings and we do want regular community members to participate. So, and then that's usually when people realize how, time consuming it can be. It is a couple hour meetings on a weekday after work, and that's not always ideal. But my thinking is that maybe going through the public info office or even just through our website, having a form where if people are interested in serving on a selection panel, they would fill out their basic info, what district they live in, maybe the district they work in, if they have an interest in, murals, sculptures, things like that, why they want to be a part of the process. And this way, when we do have selection panels, we can refer to that list of potential participants and see, well, here we have a couple people that are interested. It seems that we always invite a lot more people than show up, and sometimes it does help to get a little bit more feedback. And I think this would be good in the sense of having more community buy-in. Just even if people don't have the time to do it, just the fact that we've invited them and open that up to to have regular people participate.
Yeah, and this could basically the setup of your user groups are kind of inherently that we choose people who have relationships to the sites, so facility supervisors and the like, right? And so that varies project by project. But when it comes to ad hoc members, like maybe users of the site, a lot of times that's coming from our network, right? And that is inherently limiting to the people who show up. So having this portal, let's say, I think would further democratize the process, and make it so it's not just folks that are within arm's reach of us as individuals.
And we
I
all
think new members, get them involved in the process. It could also be really educational for local artists to be part of the process on that back end and get an idea of, what the process is for selection. If they are interested in possibly doing more public art projects, to know how those projects are going to be evaluated, I think could be really helpful in that way. Plus, they would be bringing their aesthetic expertise as well, which we don't always have. Sometimes we have more art people, sometimes we don't. So I think just having more variety of people involved could get more interesting results and just give us a better cross section of our community.
Plus, we always invite a couple of commissioners, like whoever's district the artwork is in, for starters. I think having participated in several of these myself, there's a voting process that occurs. So I mean, I think just in a practical sense, I totally like the idea of, getting new people engaged and involved in the process. But I wonder, how do we limit, so that we have a practical, number to manage for, a voting process that's happening on the spot, and it's not like we're like counting votes and it's all happening like in the same
Sure.
time period.
I mean, we wouldn't
Not
have,
that we'll be overwhelmed maybe with
Right.
interest, but just, you never know.
I'm just saying it would be something that would be an ongoing list that we keep, and as people serve, they get, removed from the list or put to the bottom of the list. And then
Yeah.
maybe we just add 2 or 3 people kind of based on our need, because sometimes we have a better turnout than others. If we have a project like, the Hot Corner mural, that was a huge selection panel. But then we've had others where it's just been a handful of people.
Yeah, just the contrast that can happen. Hot Corner was a full room at the Morton. There were 25, if not 30 people there. We catered from Ted's. Like it was a cool event. That had to be a big event. We spent 6 months, like B and I canvassed downtown finding users for the user group. 4 months before, 5 months before that actually happened, and that was a challenge, but a good one, and the net result speaks for itself. Whitehall again announced one day in advance, not the best decision, and the only people that could make it was just a narrow slice of retirees. That's all it was. So the commissioners couldn't make it at that session. So the buy-in was problematic, and that led to difficulties at the mayor and commission level when it did come to approving the concept, just because none of them were in the room and could speak to it firsthand. So
That was definitely a worst case scenario, though.
Yeah,
It's unusual.
5
That
selectors,
was
maybe.
unusual.
It was cute because it was by Zoom, and it devolved into Andrew teaches seniors how to Zoom, and that was really adorable. And so we did some of the scoring by surveys online, and it worked out okay. But it was inherently limiting because it was just a narrow slice of people.
And I think that's another good point, though, Andrew, is that if we're doing these meetings virtually, I think it opens it up to people that are able to participate.
Sure.
Say you have to pick up your kids after work or something like that, and yeah, you could sit with them and participate on your computer, but maybe not be at the Linen House for 2 hours. So I think that's adds to the opportunity in doing this, having more of a
Democratize the process. Now's the time.
And
Holly?
with Dudley Park only having 4, that might be a good beta testing project, because it's, with just 4 projects, it's not going to be a huge, debate. There's probably going to be 2 or that come.
True.
Just for contrast, with the Hot Corner, there were again 30 people looking at 45 proposals. So that was logistically a complex situation.
Right.
Will be Dudley Park will not be. Holly, what other projects are on the table?
Excellent. So to finish up our projects report, we also have Clayton Street. As you know, it's had several iterations of work being done. The streetscaping part, which involves public art, keeps, getting pushed back behind just practical, putting in pipes and things like that underground. So right now, the current timeline is the streetscaping will start in January of next year. So I know Andrew has been in touch with the artist to finalize the contract.
Yeah, artist, it's in his hands. It's been executed. That finally happened in the past month. Over the weekend, we touched base on it. He's still reviewing it, so I don't yet know what his thoughts are. It's a fairly complex document. I understand taking your time. He asked for updates on Clayton, for definitive updates, and actually Linda herself did not know. So some of that timing is in flux, and COVID's making that more difficult, and that's totally understandable.
Right.
So we're getting there. We actually had real movement on that project for the first time in 6 months. So that was promising.
I know that Sploss had wanted us to schedule his visit for this fall, but do we foresee pushing that, or is that still being
That's on the
discussed?
table.
It is
Still an option. Yeah.
okay. So that
He
might
actually relocated. He was Austin, Texas based. He moved closer to here. And he has confirmed that his new work conditions will allow him to take time off this project. That's good to go there. He's like in North Carolina, I think, so it will be
Great.
logistically easier for him to get here.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's good.
Then we have the. Okay.
Just saying, Eric has been incredibly patient. We've never
Yes.
had an artist have to withstand these conditions. He submitted 2 years ago. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a trooper for sure. We need some sort of special award for him when this is said and done.
Yeah, dinner on.
Yeah, at a minimum. So Oconee River Greenways Network, I know that Helen has told me that she's very close to finishing the call for art on that first part of the project, or the next phase in that. So that one, I think will be still on time in terms of releasing prior call later this month. Does that sound right, Helen?
Yeah, the only thing I need to do really is to set the dates for the site visit. And, just when are we going to advertise and what the advertising period is going to be. So maybe what I'll do is I need to get with Derek Sloss and coordinate with Tatiana. Who should we coordinate with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Connect with me, Helen, and
Okay.
Yeah, because I'll be getting that together and putting that on the website and getting that to Jeff and all that stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, I'll copy you on my email to Derek so we can all be in the loop.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Great. I'm excited to see that one rolling ahead. Especially, I think we tend to get more entries when our calls for art go out like during the school year, it seems. And especially, I think with these kind of landscape design oriented, projects. So hopefully we'll have a really good response to that. And that's going to be a national call, I believe. Is that right? Per somewhat usual. Okay, great. So then we also are making headway on the Poet Laureate project that Misha's been so wonderful to head up. Basically, we were, I believe, Stephanie submitted the basic proposal to the mayor and commission.
No. Stephanie, you're muted.
I went to do that, and then that opened up a dialogue with both my boss and the manager's office about whether or not the mayor and commission needed to approve that. But because it doesn't involve lots of funds, it doesn't have to be approved by the mayor and commission, and that it's a small amount of money that it's already built into the budget. So
it's our operating budget, so
it is. So the commission can just go forward with it. And I'm sorry that it took me so long to get to that point to find that information out, but it was an interesting philosophical discussion, so that was good to know going forward.
No apologies. None of us saw that coming. So this leads to, I'm not going to belabor the point. Our operating budget, when this full-time position was announced, there was no reduction in our operating budget. So as of January onward, of 2021, we will no longer be paying personnel out of the operating budget, and that will free up an operating budget for things like this. So our discretionary power becomes a lot larger because we can do some of these things. We can be a lot more nimble. Part of that budget proposal was to increase from 3 total $1,500 arts and community awards, as we've been doing it each spring, to having both a spring cycle of 3 and then a fall cycle of 3. So some of that operating budget differential will be spent there, but that doesn't account for the majority of it. So we're gonna have to let's start thinking, just planting seeds for now that we have some a lot more discretionary power when it comes to our budget moving forward quite soon.
Awesome. Well, so then basically the next step, I am curious. So, Stephanie, did the mayor or anyone involved in that discussion say they were interested in being involved in the nominating process like they were with the Music Walk of Fame?
It didn't get to the mayor. It just got to the manager's level. So I didn't have any input, but that might be a separate proposal that we can ask and send directly to the mayor's office, and I can present that.
Yeah, I had a conversation with the mayor in February in person before our Music Walk of Fame vote, which again was administered out of his office. And I asked him if it made sense for the library, and then he let me know about how the library is budgeted and said, no, probably not. And he said, this would probably be out of my office as the Walk of Fame is.
Okay.
So that's something that we need to coordinate now. That's our next step.
Okay. So that was my question. Next steps. Okay.
Misha and Tatiana, can y'all work on that, on outreach to the mayor on that specific topic?
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll just, with your permission, Trudy Green did want to serve, so I'm not sure what you mean by the library not being involved. They were very interested in being involved in the
public library. I asked the mayor if it would live, if it made sense to live as an outreach of the public library system. And he said no, since they're funded largely from state money, that didn't make sense. In this situation, it made more sense to come out of his office. That's what I meant by that.
Okay.
So she can be involved, but
she can be on the committee. So if I would like to convene the committee and follow up with Tatiana to see if someone from the mayor's office wants to serve on that committee. I'm thinking a committee of 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, Patrice, are you there?
Oops.
Let's delegate Patrice. And there
I'm
you
here.
are.
No, I'm sorry. I was like in and out, so you're gonna have to tell me again what was happening. I was doing.
So Misha, and whoever, if you want to give me names of people you want on that committee.
Yeah, we can do this offline. Let's just have a communication. Tatiana, can you initiate it with me, Misha, Patrice?
And Patrice, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Probably Stephanie too, just because she knows things relevant in this particular situation.
Yep.
Don't hear anything.
Okay.
Oh, Holly's muted.
Holly, you're me. Oh.
That's why.
Oh, sorry. So, but the last one to report on is the Play on Athens piano project. From best I can tell, the good news is that the Cedar Shoals High School is back in terms of wanting to take on a piano and take on this art project. And so Andrew is coordinated with them to get them a piano. And then we also did successfully deliver the second one over to Clark Central for their art program.
Just for the record, I have one of the pianos at my house. There was really no immediate place for it to live. It was being donated by Chick Piano. It was formerly a rental, and the people renting it had to abruptly move back to China. And so it was like, we don't know what to do. It's like, great, bring it on. So I am personally paying for that delivery. That was $200 out of my pocket, since I am benefiting from that personally, and I will say immensely. Worth every bit. What I've learned from that is I need a piano in my house. And when this one goes, I will bring another one in. I really miss that part of my life, and it was dormant. A skill that's been dormant for 20 years, and I'm really enjoying it. There's another piano that was moved to the other high school, Clark Central, and that one we will pay for that move. And again, $200 for a piano move is actually a really good price. So we have a great piano moving entity. They're quite an operation. So did want to share that for the record.
Awesome.
Will
So
not
I
be
think,
used
you
as
know, Misha,
appropriating funds.
Misha, you were working with Grace on this. Do you want to continue sort of just checking in with the two art teachers this semester to see if everything's kind of moving along and if they need any help?
Yeah, sure. And
Okay.
Andrew says he needs no reminder. He's going to remember.
I have an
She said, what,
800-pound
20 years?
reminder note. Yes, I'm good.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Cool. Bye.
So Arts and Community Awards. We met for more than 2 hours and sometime in late August. We made the determination that we were able to fund all 50. Well, no, say that again. We had 54 proposals from 52 different artists. We're able to fund 50 different artists. So we're taking a fairly heavy-handed approach about modifications for just 10 of them. That will make it more of a fundable without in congruence with the Georgia gratuities clause. And we're working right now with the attorney's office on an MOU that we need artists to sign. Some of you guys mute yourselves. There's a lot of yeah. So we're working with the attorney's office to get that MOU. We're expecting any day now. We keep getting updates that it's near, and I do feel like this is the week. Once we get that MOU, we will need to have the subcommittee meet again to determine the best process for next steps. So we'll need that process to dovetail with the MOU, and we can't plan that yet. And we really needed to see all 50 to see the applicant pool before the MOU, but I hate that this is the bottleneck. But that's a reality now. The artists understand. All of the artists who have reached out to us, so we let the artists know. We've communicated with everybody 2 or 3 times to let them know the situation. Everybody who's reached out to us with questions, we've handled individually. So we're on top of that. And again, this meeting determined the process. I want my process people, Patrice and Madeline, to be part of that because I am not. And yeah, so we made duos. Tati and I met for an hour and a half yesterday to talk about what projects made sense for which people and which pairings we wanted to make. So we wanted to pair, the constraints were more senior members and newer members. So the pairs are me and Patrice, and all of us are going to have 6 or 7 projects each. We tried to align them with what we know about you, and we referred to your bios on our website to make some of those determinations. Apologies in advance if they aren't great fits, but again, most of these projects aren't going to require heavy-handed supervision. The duos are me and Patrice, Holly and Madeline, Helen and Darcy, Donna and Mark, and I will say that one specifically is Donna's resourcefulness and Mark's ability to help us determine what permissions we need. So some of those are a little thorny, but we spread those out so we're not just dumping all of that in your lap. It'll be fun. These are all awesome projects, y'all, really and truly. So again, Donna and Mark, Marilyn and B. So those are quilting and fibers, but not exclusively, fashion as well. Stephanie and Misha, poetry and performance. Linda and Jan, and Tatiana and Montu.
Great.
So should I go into how I organize these a little bit?
Yeah, so there will be an individual folders that we will send that Tatiana will invite people to in the next day or two.
Yeah, I'll do that actually right after this meeting. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew what they were before I shared them with you. So what I did was I made a Google folder for each pair. And then in those individual folders, you'll find all of the applicant folders, basically all the materials that they submitted. So their application and any supplementary materials. So they're organized by contact name. If you want to add some notes, onto the file names, feel free. The ones with asterisks by the folder name are the ones that need modification. We try to make it so no one has more than 2 or 3 of those in there.
There's just 10 total again among 50.
Yeah.
They're spread pretty thin.
Right. And then also within those folders, you have a spreadsheet that has all your contact information. It has a description of the project, emails, phone numbers, addresses, places for notes. And then there's some admin stuff on there. I put a column for MOU, vendor form, W-9s, and I'll make a mark in those contact sheets as the paperwork comes in. This way, each individual group can just kind of monitor your projects. If you see that their paperwork isn't in and you are in contact with them, maybe mention it. But basically, everything that you would need to know anything about the project is in your individual folders. So I'm going to go. Yeah, Helen. Oh, you're muted, Helen.
I can see that. How are the modifications being handled? I mean, who is doing the modifying? Who is driving the modifications?
That's a great question. One thing I haven't handled, we've made notes of what the modifications should be that we agreed upon as a committee. So the tweaks that will need to be made, and they were mostly fairly trivial, like, amp up your promotion plan just a little bit, or, well, that's not a category of things that we could fund, but we looked at your budget, and this is a category of things that we could fund. So that probably needs to be done by, hey, Montu, I know you've been dealing with some issues. Somebody's stuck in an elevator tonight for a great reason.
So just to answer Holly, Holly asked about a checklist for responsibilities. We're going to have another subcommittee meeting after we get the MOU and kind of figure out the best process for handling paperwork and things like that. And we have Linda's intern helping us with the MOU. So a lot of just the paperwork, the finance paperwork will be handled by me and Linda's intern, and then and we'll go through, like I said, as a subcommittee and kind of come up with responsibilities. They'll kind of vary from project to project a little bit.
Right.
We'll come up with a checklist for everyone.
Okay, great.
And again, the overwhelming majority of these are really going to be fun. So
Patrice, yes. Oh, sorry, Patrice. The awardees have been notified that they are conditionally selected.
Yeah. So all 50 have been notified, and then then we followed up a week or so later to say it's going to take a little bit longer than we thought. Here's why. So the bottlenecks are identified. They know it's coming. We don't have official clearance from the county attorney's office that we can pay the artists on the front end, but I begged, and that was absolutely the mayor and commission's intent, was to administer these as we've always had administered the Arts and Community Awards. So if there's any pushback there, I'll go to the top. Because that's the main intent, right? Was to get money in the hands of as many people as possible. And financial need from COVID was 20% of our criteria. So again, we intend to honor that. So we can do a lot of this offline. That's the nuts and bolts of things. I know this meeting is dragging on.
So, I guess this might be answered after the subcommittee meets to talk about it, but just to clarify from what Helen had asked, if there's changes that are needed, we've, from this selection process, we've already identified sort of the things that we think will need to be just altered to, fit the rules, basically, and then that will be given to all the cohorts. And then, correct. It's on the artist to make those changes. We don't have to do the things for them. We're just kind of like the guiding hand to say, right. This is what you need to
And those modifications will be listed on their MOU. Basically, the MOU will have their updated project description. So anything that we discussed in the subcommittee needing to be changed would be changed, you know, kind of on the contract level.
Yeah.
So everyone, all the awardees will be well aware of what is expected of them. And this way it's not so much on the individual cohorts.
So the promising thing is, I will share this, and then I can move on. Is that I sent a draft of the MOU of like 3 different proposals and how 3 very different projects might look. And in some of them, I had a field for modifications required for this project, and the attorney's office thought that was too much work on our part. So they're like, let's make this easier for y'all. That's a little too complex. So that's the promising sign, is that they're thinking about a way to make it even easier than that. Although I was totally willing to do all that work, I thought it made the most sense. But if they have an even better idea, I'm all ears. And again, I expect to hear back at the end of this week. Other questions? I said I'd shut up, but one more thing. This is a perfect opportunity for us to get to know a community of artists. A lot of these are emerging artists. The overwhelming majority were folks that we've never once engaged, either as applicants to our calls or as folks who've been awarded. So again, the overwhelming folks, this is their first public art commission of any sort. So this is a big deal. I would like to have a personal touch on the front end early on, once we establish the process, where the 2 of us meet virtually, or whatever, safe for y'all, to just establish a relationship and have, let's say, 5 or 10 minute get to know you sessions with each of these 6 or 7 project members that we're engaging here. I just think that's an important front end assignment. It'll only take an hour and a half, 2 hours for us to make these. I think it's vital to the success as a whole. There will be, in the aggregate, a fair amount of chaos to manage, and I think that's one step that we could take just to mitigate the chaos and start building relationships with these folks.
And one thing that I can do, you know, after we get through the MOU stage, is I'll do introductory emails with each duo and their project contacts, and say, you know, these are your advisors for this project. You know, feel free to reach out to them directly.
Yeah.
I'll just share your email.
In that outreach.
Yeah, if you want to share phone numbers or anything, that's on y'all. But I'll do an initial kind of intro to kind of get things rolling.
Yeah, and link to our bios page so they can get to see us that way too, and humanize us a little bit too. It's going to be a great thing. These are wonderful. You guys are going to be excited when you see.
We really tried to match everybody with projects we thought y'all would like. It was kind of fun to play matchmaker with the members and the projects.
Let us know if we got it wrong, for sure.
I think we did a good job. We'll see. If anyone's really upset, let us know as soon as possible.
Yeah. If there's, it's a small town. If there's some reason why, if it's somebody and don't have a great working relationship with, if you can predict some of that stuff in advance, let us know, and we can shift. We can shift if we have to.
Cool.
Last thing for me is, at Stephanie's request, we had all year to think about a meeting time for changing our meeting time to either Tuesday or Thursday, because Linden House is open late on those evenings anyway. I don't think it makes sense in this virtual environment to necessarily shift gears yet. Although y'all tell me, there's a lot of unknown unknowns, or known unknowns, to paraphrase Rumsfeld, which I hate to do. But I don't think it's going to make sense to meet in person until March at the earliest, probably. Does it make sense to change our date as soon as January? Y'all tell me. Or should we just wait it out and see how COVID's going to do?
Would it help to have a doodle poll so people could sort of vote or think about different days and see if another day emerged? I don't know.
I love that idea.
I
You know,
could
like
set that up, or we could just say, "Do you prefer Tuesday or Thursday?" That'll be easier.
the doodle poll, like, you know, first Tuesdays might look a little different for us. We might have obligations then.
Sure.
You know, Thursdays might not work for us, right? So I like the idea of a doodle poll. Tatiana,
Okay.
can you get
Sure.
on that by next week?
Yeah.
Not super urgent, but it's, you know, September, and I said I would get around to this, so it is time to have this conversation. Doodle is the way to start.
I just want to say, and I appreciate you bringing it up, that if it comes to pass that the agreement is that this is the only day of the week that everyone can find, then we can make that work. It's just I wanted to ask because in meeting in person on any night other than like Tuesday through Saturday is really better for the meeting in person at the Linden House. But if this is the only time, then this is the only time. I just wanted to at least revisit the conversation once a year if we can.
We were the Linden House's only business on Mondays, and that led to some issues closing. And, you know, if that's preventable, that would be ideal. Okay, doodle it is. Why don't we close by sharing any arts happenings? Who's got happenings? I'll mute myself because I don't.
I do. I want to just share, I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard about this. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I think it's maybe this. Yes. Okay, the Athens Creative Directory. Have y'all heard about this?
Yes, and we posted it on our website.
Okay. I just wanted to mention it one more time in that we are still, so part of the Envision Athens has a Create Athens section. One of the things that we've worked on is this creative directory. So we're looking for people to populate it now. That way it's still in development phase and we just need more artists and more people who work in the arts. So you could be a curator or a filmmaker, or perhaps you have like, might know someone or someone who has like unique carpentry skills that could be applicable. So we're looking, it's like, that's why we tried to make it about creatives and not specifically about like fine arts. So really trying to cast a wide net. And I also like to think that this directory will eventually become the kind of way we can point to and say, look how many people work in the creative arts in Athens. And this is a force that we should respect and value, right? There are a lot of people who are doing a lot of work in this community in these ways. So we're hoping that can be representative as well as a way to communicate to artists and creative people when there are calls for art and other opportunities, and create this directory so that we can point people to it and say, oh, you want to buy some art, you want to hire a creative person to paint a mural on your building, or make a film about whatever you want to make a film about. This is a place and a source to go to. So really what we're asking people to do now is just this Athens Creatives at Gmail. And then if you write an email to that, you will get a response. To give it a few days, an actual human person is checking that email, and he will send you a response, and it has like a little guide to how to set up your profile, and it can just be a placeholder until you get everything going. But I just wanted to share it and explain it and advocate for it because we're really trying to get more people signed up for it. So and Tatiana's right. We've shared it on the Cultural Affairs. I know the Athens Arts Council has shared it. Linden House has been sharing it. So let's keep on sharing it.
And I'm guilty of not setting up my my listing yet, but I will say that when you email them, they do get back to you right away.
They do.
It's a real person and everything.
That's all I wanted to share about that right there. Just to do that one more time and encourage y'all to share it as well as sign up for it, because we need people on there. So
where can we find something we can share on Facebook?
Should be. Is it on the Cultural Affairs Facebook page, Tatiana?
Yes. Or did we share it? It might be far down because it was a while ago, but it's on it's on our website. It's probably the second post on our website, second most recent.
on the website.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if Dee Dee's still on this call, but I can shout out for the Linden House just has 4 new exhibitions that just opened. We had some fantastic socially distanced openings and some extended hours last week. And I really, it's a really great full house full of art, much of it locally focused. I really, come and see, have a nice time. It's very safe walking through. You have to wear a mask, but they've done a really nice job at the Linden House with those exhibitions, as well as like the visitors experience. So please come visit us.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. I just went to Atlanta to look at all of my colleagues' experiences firsthand about how to visit art spaces, and we are doing it right. So please do come. We have 5 different exhibits up that are fully sensory experience, from dance, live action, motion, sound, dance, music, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we are open. Our hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6. They're slightly different, but those are our hours. So yeah, come and see us.
This
And-
Thursday. Oh,
Sorry, go ahead, Malin.
okay. No, I was just going to say this Thursday is Third Thursday, so that's the night when a lot of the participating galleries will stay open, typically 6 to 9, and so it's just a cool chance to see art at night. So I just linked in the chat here if you want to check that out. So there's like Georgia Museum, Tiny Earth Gallery, Cine, Athica, Linden House. Creature Comforts does have some art from our artist residency outside outside. So if you're seated there at your table, you can check that out. Lamar Dodd Classic Center does not have anything, but all the information's on that.
Thank you, Madeline. Yes,
Thank you.
Indigo is also open. We have photos by Mike Landers of the facades, and they have a wonderful outdoor, and the hospitality environment has really, taken a blow. So yeah, if you want to look at art and have a cocktail, it's available.
Has anyone heard there's going to be the Latin American Heritage event this month? Like
Latinx Fest?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does anybody have an update? Last I heard, it was supposed to be all online, but that might have been just kind of a provisional, not like a.
Yeah.
Not really
That's what
sure.
I heard too.
Yeah.
October.
They reached, we did the a collaboration with the Lantern Parade last year. They've just reached out. So I think it's going to be online, and yeah.
Okay.
Lantern
And
Parade.
if anyone feels like driving out to the country anytime soon, I have a show opening at the Stephen Thomas Museum. It'll be on view Thursday. We're not having a reception, of course, but we are having visitors by appointment. This is a sculpture show, wood, metal, and stone. There's 11 artists, and 5 of them are Athens artists. So we have Barbara Mann, Noah Saunders, Larry Millard, Kelsey Wishick, and Ryan Woods are the Athens artists represented. So if you know any of those folks, it's a really interesting show. I'm going to finish installing it tomorrow. So there is going to be a virtual element to it on our website, but we are taking in-person visitors by appointment.
When is that, Tatiana?
That's starting this Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 4. So, yeah.
All right. That's the art happenings.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Oh,
Art happening per se, but it's happening to me and Creature Comforts. We're so excited about the Music Walk of Fame. We're organizing a staff socially distance tour to go all the way around and see all of the plaques in about a week. So let's hope it doesn't rain. And Michael Lahusky is going to be our sort of guide, which we're just really excited to get to, see him in person for the first time in a long time, and get to kind of hear about his, his perspective on Athens music history. So we're just so excited. We had to schedule something right away. So,
okay. Let's do that ourselves.
yeah, that'd be fun.
Great.
Absolutely.
When it cools off just a little bit, we'll plan it at our next one. Okay, great. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. This was a really great session. I think our best virtual session yet. Go team. Really resilient people here. Thank you so much.
Way to share those screens. Good job.
Yeah.
Andrew and Stephanie, can you guys hold on for 1 second so I can talk to you? It will take
Yes.
long. Okay.
Absolutely. And so dig in, you'll get invited to your Google folders tonight. So check out your projects.
Okie doke. All right, y'all have a good night.
All right.
Guys.
Be on the lookout.